And finally I found Riley LaFever, who was a cousin to Miss Thomas, and his sister, Alta. So they lived out really in a field. There was no. They lived off the public road, so you had to go from the public road and drive through the pasture fields, and that's the first time that I visited. Well, he wasn't home. She wouldn't answer the door apparently because she was bedridden and was apprehensive about being robbed or something, and later on was robbed. Miss Thomas had told me that you can find him at one of the stores. So that's all he does. He gets up in the morning and puts on his overalls and gets in an old blue truck, blue pickup. Said, you won't have any trouble. Everybody knows where, everybody knows him. So I got to, when I couldn't find him, drove to the first store, which was closed. I knew he wasn't probably there.
Permanently closed.
Permanently closed, yeah. And then I went to the second store. They were all within 3 or 4 miles of one another, and it was open, but he wasn't there. And I went to the third store, which was closed permanently, and there's only one left. And went in, and there were a bunch of 4, 5, 6 old men, and not so old men sitting around in the back. And I, of course, they pretended they didn't notice when I came in. You know, I had dressed in a suit and tie and all, been to see the governor. So they said, I said, I'm looking for a man by the name of Riley LaFever. And they looked at one another and said, well, said, I think he's here somewhere. And then I heard one of them go back and say, Riley, there's a man here with a warrant for you. And then they all laughed, and Riley didn't know whether to come out or not, but he figured it was a joke. But he went home, to his home, and I followed him, and that's the first meeting I had with him. And everyone said, and Miss Thomas said, you know, he may have some pieces left, but he won't sell anything. The original home place was beyond where he and his sister were living. They were living in a new house, however, very cheaply built and unfinished. The porch floor had never been built. It was still a dirt floor. And but about 200 or 300 or 400 yards beyond that was the old home place, and just beyond that was the where they made the pottery. And he told me about the old home place, and then I asked him about the jug, the famous jug, and he said that he was the one that made it. And then there were a few other little toys, animals, frivolous novelty type thing. And I said, well, did you all, I never knew of a potter in this area that made frogs and mules and toads and lambs and things of that sort. And he said, well, we just made them on Sundays. And I said, why would you only make them on Sunday? And he said, well, of course they had to work 6 days a week making items to sell, utilitarian items, and they didn't have anything much to do on Sunday, so their father allowed them to piddle around making these novelty items, and that was the jug. They made chicken waterers for use, so that you could, a gallon jug would be filled with water and it would come out at the bottom. The only difference in the ones they made to sell commercially and the one, this very unusual one with that figure at the top, was the fact that they had gone to the trouble of making this folk art thing, and just I don't even know whether Riley himself could have indicated, you know, what it was. But they were, like most people in this region, pretty religious, and you didn't work on Sunday. But you could work on something that was non-productive, non-commercial, and playing around. That's why all these smaller items existed, because he and his sister and some of his cousins would piddle around out there and make these smaller items.